My name is Luke Cayley. I'm the Information Management Lead here at the IFRC. Here to lead you through another of our quarterly briefings on the Go platform. The usual looking agenda to first look at the data analytics, who's using the platform, for what reason, from where, and some of the trends we're seeing. Then we'll look back. What have we managed to change to improve the platform over the last 3 months, the last quarter? We'll present to you some insights we've been getting from our secretariat and member-led Go advisory groups. We'll then look ahead for the next 3 months, what we're planning to change about the platform, including to rebuild it from scratch. And we'll then present the rest of the work plan for the rest of the year. We, as ever, are very keen for your questions. Please keep them in the chat and keep yourself on mute for now. But then we'll respond to them if we can in the chat and reserve some time at the end of the session so that we can dive into something in more detail if necessary. So on with the briefing. As we normally explain the platform, this is a slide which helps to depict exactly what's going on behind the scenes, let's say. And so you have 3 forms of data coming in. The first one on the left-hand side, the IFRC systems. These are all the data sets which are structured and maintained and validated by colleagues in the Secretariat around funding that's being handled by the Secretariat for emergency appeals or country plans and so on, around the deployment information for surge personnel, rapid response personnel, which have been deployed for emergencies across the globe, across our network. And then, talking of the network, we have all the data that national societies are submitting to notify the rest of the IFRC network and even the movement more broadly around the disasters that are about to happen or are happening already through field reports, through requests for funding through the Disaster Response Emergency Fund, the 3W, which is the Who, What, Where system for tracking projects and activities in response to emergencies. And then we have increasingly connections to external sources which help to alert us and our network for impending crises that provide us better analytics so that we can do better contingency planning and early action, and coming from many partners, which we'll talk about in a little while. So I'll go into more detail there. We serve up from that laptop many different services, let's say. There is the Go data itself, which is served through an API, which can be plugged into your systems so that you can track using your own dashboards or own systems the data that we're making available. We have a number of tools which predominantly are found in the Surge section in the platform, including an operational timeline toolbox, the Surge catalog of services, all of these things which help national societies know how to interact with global surge tools that the IFRC helps to coordinate and manage. And then, of course, you have the platform itself, which we'll spend most of our time talking about. So a little look at the analytics for this past quarter. You can see the dotted line is the quarter previous. So that's spike in the middle of the trend line shows the peak in interest that came from the Turkey and Syria earthquakes, and obviously an emergency of that sort does change the number of people who are visiting the platform. But we do still see a solid trend of growth within overall numbers of people visiting the platform, both in terms of their geographic spread as well as the overall total number. And we do also note that there are some new features that we've introduced which are well received, or at least well used by the users. So that includes on the left-hand side, you can see a ranking of the most popular pages, and which includes the search details. So this is the new search results page that we've introduced, which we hope people to find what they're looking for on Go. So if you use the search bar and hit enter, you will then be redirected to something which provides a kind of categorized list of things which relate to that key search term. So please take a look at that, but also give us feedback if you not getting what you looked for. The different countries that are engaging using the platform, you can see a pretty nice global coverage there in terms of who's accessing the platform. And we continue to try to open up, remove barriers and open up the platform to more users so that they can use it on their regular work. And one of the key steps that we've taken recently around that is our ability now to translate user content, content created by our users. And to tell us a bit more about that is our Go project manager, Daniel Tavari. Over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Luke. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. So a little while ago, end of 2020, we introduced the Go UI translation. So since that, the user interface is available in all 4 languages, but the user content, what you entered on the field reports, for example, were not translated to any of these languages. And now it's changed. So recently we introduced this user content translation feature, which means that you create the field report on your own language or any of the 4 languages, and then it gets translated to the other 3 languages as well. One important point is that you need to select the entry language with the language selector on the top. So if you want to add text in Spanish, then please change the UI language to Spanish. If you want to enter text in French, then to French. And when you submit the field report, then in a few seconds, it will get translated to the other 3 languages as well. As the emergency page is created from the field report, then as the field report and the emergency pages will be also translated and will be available in all 4 languages. One more important point is that you can only edit the field reports after the submission only in the entry language. So if you enter the data using the Spanish UI, then you will be only able to edit the field report using the Spanish UI, and you cannot edit French, Arabic, and English translations. If you need to do that, then you can do that on the admin page only. So that's it in a nutshell. You don't need to do anything special. The fields get translated automatically. You only need to select the UI language at the beginning, and that's it. Thanks, Luke.
Perfect. Thanks, Daniel. And a great step forward to enable more of our national societies to feel comfortable using Go in their own language. So thanks for explaining that one. And now over to our dear colleague, Luis Vanovic, who is the regional office for Europe, the IFRC Secretariat's leading expert on data visualization and mapping. Over to you, Luis.
Thanks, Luke. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Luis from IFRC Information Management Team, IFRC Europe, and I'll spend a couple of minutes with you talking about briefly about the latest Nightingale Database Challenge earlier this year. Yes, next slide, please. Thanks. So yes, in this edition, we wanted to focus this time on create visual products and focus the entries for the participants in the focusing on the disaster relief, emergency fund, or DREF. Yes, as you may know, there's the DREF coverage. These are small, medium-scale operations. The DREF coverage is worldwide. And in the latest 5 years, it's been an average of around 115 DREF operations, including all regions. And then there's strong potential to use this data, to use data visualization to support the DREF coverage and the impact, and potentially to prescribe and suggest enhancements, improvements to the DREF mechanism. Right? And then, since we were going to focus on DREF, on the DREF, then we used the real DREF data in this edition of the challenge. We took a subset of DREF data for the last 5 years, and this is what we shared to the participants interested in the part of the challenge. The DREF data set contained pretty basic information, but important, such as operational time frame, the disaster type, location, DREF, or the DREF in terms of a country and region, and many other data points that could be useful to provide insights to users of the upcoming DREF section in Go, and also to support DREF teams in IFRC regional offices. And then about the tools, there was pretty open to accept any tool for the visual entry participants were going to use. Right? And then the price was a very nice price. Paid trip, all expenses paid to attend the Global Innovation Summit, Nairobi, on June 26 to 28. Along with participation in one of the sessions. Right? And then participation, National Society staff and volunteers were eligible, as well as IFRC colleagues were invited to participate. To select our winners, we based since we took many lessons learned from previous editions of the challenge. We stayed with our criteria to select the winners. Same criteria as last year: storytelling, simplicity, aesthetics, and creativity. And then with a slight change this year, we were going to appoint a review panel, and we also launched the vote of the community, where everybody in the Red Cross Crescent movement were invited to vote, right, and submit your favorite visual entry. So, yes, next slide. Thanks. And brief you very quickly about the challenge, how we did it this time. Right? We received more than 40 entries from national societies, IFRC colleagues, and then we were in a short list up to 7 entries. And after the shortlisted, then we launched the vote of the community with this reduced number of visual submissions. Right? Good thing to highlight is that vote of the community was very popular, and then we received more than 480 votes total in about 1 week, a bit more than 1 week. And then we designated a review panel trying to cover all or many regions, national society members, also IFRC colleagues. and ensure participation, to ensure participation from different regions. And then each member of the panel made their individual review, and then they received also all the information about results of the vote of the community, and for them to make the final decision. At the end, the review panel made a final decision on an overall winner and 3 honorable mentions, as mentioned in this slide. Best analytical insights, the vote of the community, and the best static protocol infographic. Also, good thing to highlight that throughout all the challenge, we took advantage of Solferino Academy's network and the website. Everything was communicated on social media and using Solferino Academy's website dedicated to the Global Innovation Summit. There's more information in the blog. We're going to share the link in a minute. It's there in the slide. There's all the information. Also, you can have a look at all finalists, including the overall winner and the honorable mentions. There's also links for you to access and look at the products very detailed. Yeah, since we wanted to take advantage of variety of data visualization skills in the movement to support the upcoming DREF section in Go. And also a good thing to highlight that since participants were able to use real data, this data will be available in Go in the DREF section, in the upcoming DREF section, right? And the products submitted, you can see them at the right. Those are the winner and honorable mentions, along with the finalists. We hope that this all the visuals submitted or the finalists will inspire the upcoming DREF developments in the Go platform. That's pretty much it from my side. Luke, thanks. I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Luis, and thanks, for all the leadership that you brought onto that process. I think it went very well, and we got some really interesting visualizations that you can see on your screen there. Particularly the winner, dear Ahmad Al Jamal, who created something that you would have to say is one of the best Power BI based dashboards I've ever seen, and some static infographics that you can see on the screen there, which we've still got on the wall here, and derive quite a lot of insight from. So it was a really good exercise, and like you say, this all helps us to think through what the DREF analytics on Go will look like. We aim to have that by the end of the year. We've cleaned the data, the historical data, as well as the data that's coming into the platform since the launch of DREF on Go at the end of last year. So we're ready for that next step, and really looking forward to it. So thanks a lot, Luis. All right, so moving on to our next update. This is from Justin Giannetti, a resident risk analyst expert, who will tell us more about improvements to the Risk Watch and service that we have on the platform. Over to you, Justin.
Thanks a lot, Luke. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Luis and Ahmad, a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. So just a couple of small updates for this last quarter on the Go Risk Watch. The first has to do with our imminent events tab. And as you can see from the screenshot in front of you, we are now visualizing the hazard and impact forecasts from GDAX, which I'm sure most of you already know from their platform. So we're pulling those in, and we'll soon be following up with them to provide validated data back to them so that they can improve those estimates that we're getting from them. So as you can see now, we have impact forecasts from them for cyclones, as is indicated by the event I pulled up there, but you can also see that there are earthquakes, floods, and behind that box there are also icons for wildfires. Next slide. The other new addition to the Risk Watch in the last couple of months has been the wildfire risk from the Global Wildfire Information System from the European Union. And what you see in front of you is available on every single country page at present. And the data is the max and the min values, which are indicated by the shaded areas, the historical mean risk for every month, which is in the blue, and then the current estimate, which is for 2023. And that's the red line. So it allows you to see how the risk is distributed across the year, and then in any particular year that we happen to be in, are we, above average, below average, vis-a-vis the historical. As you can see, for the case of Portugal, which you are seeing on your screen, the April-May values were the highest ever recorded. At the moment, this is available, as I said, only on the country pages, but it will also soon be available on the regional pages, so you can compare the risk in a normalized manner for every single country within the region. And then coming up in the next few months, we will be visualizing a lot more historical data. As many of you have heard before, the Global Crisis Data Bank initiative is up and running. And we already have 97,000 plus events in the database, which is a factor of 25 more than was in the previous IFRC GO data set. So there'll be a lot more events per country to contextualize forecasted and ongoing emergencies. We'll use that data to update impact estimates for 1, 5, and 10-year return period events. And by the hurricane season in the Philippines, by the time the typhoons are in full swing, we should have the impact forecasts as well from Meteo Suisse using the data from Pagasa. And then also later this year, we will have automatic notifications from GLOFAS and Google flood forecasting teams for any 1 and 5 year flood event forecasted around the world. Thanks a lot, Luke. That's over for me.
Thanks, Justin. Great updates, and that increasing range of hazards being served up on the Go platform. Really excited about this potential to get information directly from GLOFAS and Google, which linked to notifications for imminent events. Really helps us to provide the service that we've been aiming to do to set up, so that we can help to provide early warnings for our national societies. Just a reminder for those users who are not familiar that you, in your account page, can set up your own notifications. Those will not work as yet for early warnings, but will be valuable for you to be notified of any event or any hazard, any region, any country of interest. So please, if you have forgotten about that, then go and find your notifications and customize them for your use case. Thanks a lot, and we'll continue with a little update from the Go advisory and working groups. So for those who were not on the briefing last time and perhaps not so familiar with the way that we organize the whole Go team, you can see in front of you there a kind of an ecosystem map of it, of how that is organized. You can see at the top level the strategic, secretariat, and membership advisory groups. You have an operational level, which are the developers that build the platform and manage the project. You have at the bottom the different sprint teams which are working on individual aspects of the platform. So just going through those one by one. From the strategic side, we have the Secretariat and Membership Advisory Group meetings yesterday. The Secretariat was really talking about the role of Go as a support for interoperability and its role within the IFRC data architecture. Those managers, you can see the chair is the Disaster, Climate and Crisis Director, but then you have directors from the Office Secretary General, the National Society Development Services, Health and Care and Digital Transformation, as well as others from Membership Coordination and the DCC department. Those are very keen to understand and influence the way that Go is formalizing some of the data structures within the IFRC, and there's a live debate around how Go could evolve from its current focus on emergency operations to more of a programmatic role, but obviously that's taking it a bit beyond where we've focused up to now, albeit there are some features which relate to that, such as the 3W for projects, there's certainly some work that we're doing with federation-wide and PMER data teams to move us in that direction. And so that was the Secretariat group. And the membership group, we talked, as you might expect, about the country pages, which they had noted previously were subpar, let's say, and we totally agreed, and have been focused on those. We'll talk about them in later on in this briefing, what we're planning to bring onto the platform, and they were also keen to discuss about the need for national society ownership, and how we can enable that through the country pages, but also for things such as local unit branch details, so the locations, but also the kind of services that are offered by national society branches, which, you know, is not an IFRC data point as such. We really want to just provide the platform for the national societies to manage and share that information with those who can use it. And so, yeah, those are the just the feedback from those two groups. Just quickly to explain the other groups and what they're up to. The developers are essentially those who build the platform, the web developers. We have internal and external developers in those different locations you can see on your screen, as well as Yellow Umbrella, who provide our user experience research and design. And they are based in Switzerland, but they, you know, have a global team which provides the kind of look and feel of the platform. And then we have a project management team, the product owner. These are all web software web development terminologies, let's say. So my role on the Go team is as product owner. Daniel, who you've heard from earlier, is Scrum Master. We have also staff working on geospatial services, data quality and outreach, including the IAM coordinators in the regional offices. And then below you can see some of the sprints that we're working on, which might be a bit familiar from previous briefings. We've been focusing on the DREF and have more still to do, including incorporating the early action protocols onto the platform. We have the federation-wide reporting, which currently is done in two ways, both through the indicated tracking table and financial management COBO forms, which are sent out by the FDRS team in big emergencies, and also the 3W, which enables the national societies to share their activities. We're bringing those together. And we briefed on that last time. That's still continuing, and we hope to have that on the platform in the coming months. Country pages we will talk about imminently, so I'll skip over that one. Operational learning. This is something just to remind those on the call to discover if you haven't seen it recently. Rediscover if you haven't seen it recently. Buried a little bit on a dashboard in the preparedness section of the platform, but it's an actual gold mine of information from national societies who've had support from the DREF, and it's all the learnings, the challenges that they've encountered during their operation, which has then surfaced in an interactive dashboard, and within the framework of the Preparedness for Effective Response framework. And so, that's extremely valuable as it is, but we're really hoping to expand the scope of it by looking at not just DREF operations, but IFRC supported emergency appeals, but also National Society and other operational learning sources. And we're doing that using new technologies, the AI and so on, large language models to help us to provide some kind of summary analysis of all that information alongside our colleagues from different departments. PER we'll talk about in a little while. And then just lastly, we're working a lot on the geo side. And as you can imagine, with anything that involves drawing boundaries, some of those disputed, we've had a lot of consultation with our legal and governance teams. And yeah, as mentioned earlier, with the country pages and the membership advisory group's interest, we are sitting on a data set of local unit branches, locations, and their services. We really want to bring that onto the platform, but we want to do that alongside our national societies. So finding champions who are ready to validate that data and maintain it is a big area of work that we're continuing to invest in. If you want to get involved in any of that, please contact im@ifrc.org. Okay, moving on. This is perhaps less visible at the moment, at least, but is quite a significant piece of work for us. We've been essentially rebuilding Go for the last couple of months, in essence, because over the 5 years since we launched the platform, we've been building it with different developers using different pots of money or projects, and it's and that we've built something which has foundations maybe in Lego, but then a little bit of Duplo to create some turrets, and then some other Kepler or other pieces or Jenga pieces to try to build this which build this tower. And so what we're aiming to do instead is build the platform using exactly the same kinds of structures so that it can be more easily understood by developers. It can work much more quickly because each feature and module is working in exactly the same way. That will mean that it will be quicker to load, it will be better and easier to load in low bandwidth environments, which we know that's a big feedback from our users in some parts of the world. It will mean that potentially we can get national societies to be involved in the development. So as mentioned, we've mostly do that either in-house or with external providers, but we know that there are national societies with those expertise, web development expertise, who could get involved if we can document and explain how the patterns and work in the Go development environment, and it will become more consistent in user experience. So when you're clicking on a table in one page, it will look pretty much the same as it does in somewhere else on the platform, which unfortunately it doesn't at the moment. And yeah, it'll be mobile friendly. We know most of it's 70 to 80% of our users are accessing Go on their desktop or laptop, but we know that might be sometimes a restriction on their use from mobile is the fact that Go doesn't work very well at all or using your handset. So all of these improvements we hope to be able to share by the end of September. You can read more on a blog that we will share in the chat, and you can actually visit our test server. So we'll not have all of the data from Go, but you can see how responsive this new site will be with the links that we'll share with the notes. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Stephanie Guadron from Panama, from the regional office, at least in the Americas, who will take us through the improvements that we're making to the Preparedness for Effective Response module on Go. Over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Luke. Hello, everyone. As Luke mentioned, I'm from the IM Americas Regional Office team. I'm here today to present the advances on the NS Preparedness module in Go. We're very happy that this is happening, and this will be launched in the next few months. So as Stephanie some of you might know, the goal of the national and preparedness of PER is that national societies assess, measure, and analyze the strengths and gaps in their preparedness and response mechanisms so that they can take the necessary action to improve their capacity to respond in disaster. The value of having the PER mechanism in Go is that the national society will be able to securely store and share the data, the graphics regarding PER, compare their own PER cycles, register and follow up on their work plans, and connect ultimately the PER data to other response data available in Go. So it will provide a way that they can take advantage of the information that they already have. Main users, as it seems obvious, are national societies, but also PER focal points, PER facilitators, and the public data will be useful for IFRC in general and PNSS and donor as well. As of July of this year, 93 national societies have been engaged in a PER process, and 76 of them have completed a first PER assessment. So it's important to mention that all PER assessment information is already inputted in Go, entered in Go, or the assessment corresponds to the assessment phase, the second phase of the PER mechanism already existed in Go. And during this project, it has been updated with the latest change, but information is already there. So with this new development, all the 5 phases of the PER mechanism, as we are going to see in a minute, will be incorporated in the platform and will allow the national society to have the full picture, the complete picture of their PER process, of their PER cycles in an accessible and secure manner. So we will go now in detail on each of the features developed. Thank you. So PER and Go has a main page, a main menu, where the user will be able to manage and access the different forms and enter and revise information. It will allow to initiate a new PER process, a new PER cycle, also the monitoring of the completed cycles, also the ongoing cycles, indicating the current phase of the PER or of the current PER cycle, and provide some filtering, especially for the IFRC PER team, selection of country and region, and filter to find information more quickly. For national society, they will be able to see only their own PER processes. And this is for the main menu. If we go to the next slide, we will now go see the form that will allow to start with the orientation, the first phase of the mechanism. So this, when starting a new PER process, this form will allow to enter information on the orientation phase, as well as start the setting up of the PER cycle. This include or will allow to set the orientation date, upload documents about the orientation phase, and entering general information about the cycle, the type of assessment, the number of the cycle, contact information, and so on. If we go to the next slide, we will see that, yes, great that we can upload documents there. For the second, for this slide regarding the assessment, this is a central part of the process. Most know the assessment. We enter a lot of information here, and it's been updated, and now will allow also to incorporate more information, as I'll mention in a minute. It will allow to see the overview and the definition of the components for all the areas, 5 areas of the response mechanism, register the assessment of the 37 components and considerations, including EPI consideration, urban consideration, and environmental consideration, all based on the PER mechanism. And also the possibility to provide comments to support the ratings, the responses for all the benchmarks, and a live dashboard or graphic that show the rating of the assessed area so far. For the next slide now, the prioritization, the third phase of the mechanism. PER in Go will provide a form to select the prioritized component with the aid of also graphics and visuals, and it will include the selection of components to prioritize based on the assessment, register justification for the selected prioritized components, and then this dashboard showing the distribution of the ratings per area and per component to help the process. Almost at the end, we will have the work plan and also the action and accountability, the follow-up of the work plan. User will have the ability to register the list of action, a summary of the list of action to be taken for each component that have been prioritized with due dates, supporting actors, the status of implementation. And it will also be a flexible work plan with the possibility to modify the activities and also the prioritized component if needed. So this will be something very dynamic for the national societies. And importantly, as the information is being registered, so dashboard visual will be automatically generated for the users. The information, is important to mention, will not be accessible in the same way for all users, for everyone. There will be both a private and a public view of the PR data for the general public, as we are seeing here in the slide. So the dashboard will show more aggregated information, such as the number of cycle, or the current phase, and the highlighted prioritized components, for example. Then for the private view, in the next slide, yes, for national societies, besides that information, national societies, PR focal point in national societies, will be able to see more in depth, more in detail, the information that has been registered, like the comparison between the different PR cycles, if they have had more than one, graphic related to ratings per area, notes for the components and the rating per components. And also this page will allow to upload relevant documents related to the processes. So as for the next steps, we don't have a slide for this, sorry. We can stay in the private view one. So the PR module will be launched in the next couple of months in a pilot phase, which will allow users to enter information, visualize information, all of this with the support of the PR team, IM team. As we mentioned earlier, there's already information entered, and this will allow a national society to see in a very short terms already information on their historical PR processes. So yes, we're very happy about this. And this is from my side. Over to you again, Luke.
Muchas gracias, Stephanie. Great progress being made on this national society focused system. As you can see, there's a lot more information for those that private view that the national society can have to track the national society preparedness. It's been a long piece of work to improve this module on Go, and yeah, a lot of persistence from the team. So congratulations on getting near to that point where we're able to share this really valuable data around the demand for support, essentially, that national societies are circulating across the network, but also looking at to support themselves through this framework. Okay, so thanks a lot for that. And yeah, on to another national society focused improvement, which is the country page update I mentioned earlier. Alex Howes, the data analyst from the National Society Development Services Department here in Geneva, has been leading this process. So over to you, Alex, to explain all of what's to come on this comprehensive overhaul of the country pages. Over to you.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Alex, and I've been developing what we're calling like the country pages on Go. So these pages are what they say they are, the country page in Go. So each country has a page which brings together internal and external data on that country and on the national society in that country from multiple different sources. As well as sort of being a central place for this data to exist and be found easily, it also gives more ownership to national societies sort of Go to be able to access but also promote their data in Go, including geospatial data and visualization and analysis. It also promotes existing Go data and analysis, sort of giving it a more country-based platform, including the historical crisis analysis and operational learning data results. So in a way, sort of creates a more digestible way of visualizing this. So in this process, we wanted to make sure it was sort of entirely user-driven. so driven by current Go users and any new prospective Go users who might sort of be interested in coming for this new information that we're showing here. So I started off this project by doing a lot of chatting, actually, chatting to like 40 different people across IFRC and national societies in all sort of different positions and areas of work to get their feedback and ideas on what should be in these pages. We then compiled these results, sort of prioritised them because lots of ideas came up, prioritised by sort of how often they were mentioned, how important, and also the accessibility of the information. We then held a workshop to draw together these findings and create an initial view of the wireframes. Next, the brilliant yellow umbrella, Mariam, created some really nice wireframes to pull all of this together and create a sort of what it could look like. And we're currently in a feedback phase. For a few weeks, we've been gathering feedback on wireframes from various different people, and we'll be doing that for the next few weeks before having a final version by the end of this month. So what I would like to do is to share with you all the link to the wireframes, which I'm going to put in the chat right now. It's on Figma, but it's free. If you don't have an account, it's free to create an account. So you just log in, create an account if necessary, and then you can comment by clicking the comment button in the top bar and leaving any comments you have, which would be great for us to, we'll then incorporate those in the wireframes. So I'll just share my screen and give you like a speedy overview of the wireframes. So we've given Philippines as an example here. The first section that you see, this sort of consistent with the rest of Go as well, is the emergencies page. So we list all of the emergencies which are currently active in that country. We give an overview bar at the top, sort of giving a summary of what's going on, number of national societies who are active, targeted population, and funding. We then give this sort of overview of the operations going on with an easy way to sort of then click onto the emergency page to get more information. We've tried to make things sort of as visual as possible, so chucked in a few maps, including this one, visualizing sort of the emergency if it sort of can be visualized in that way, and then adding an optional sort of imminent events from the risk module, and also overlaying some activities or some information on what's going on in terms of activities and who's doing what. We then, from the 3W module on Go, we have some information on some projects relevant to these emergencies, which gives a nice overview of sort of who's doing what and in which sectors. And finally, we have this little chart showing who's acting in the country in the emergency, in which sectors, and where. So as well as emergencies, we have programs, and programs are any sort of projects or activities which are not sort of directly related to the emergency. So that includes long-term programs. We have a summary, it sort of mirrors the previous page. So we have a summary of number of national societies, number of activities, and then information by strategic priority, which comes from unified planning data collection. So we have an overview of each project, including targeted population and funding requirements, and a map again showing the sort of location of what's going on. Some information, this is from the unified planning data collection, so the data is grouped by strategic priority, and we have information on who's doing what and in what sector. And finally, a similar chart to the previous page showing national society acting here and sector and area. So next, I'll jump to the National Society Overview section. So this section summarises all information about the National Society, all that we have, and sort of also what the National Society is doing. So here, this wireframe is viewing the international work of the National Society, and there's also an option for activities to be added to this button at the top right. So we can also view domestic activities if that's available. We have a summary at the top of the countries where the National Society is working, targeted population and funding, and this map showing the areas or the countries where the National Society is doing work. and finally the information viewed as a table. Next, we have information on the National Society. So this came from a lot of people in the user interviews who wanted to see sort of information which is collected through FDRS, but just summarised on these pages, like their latest figures. So that's what we show here, the income of the National Society, expenditure, and then other key figures like number of branches, staff, volunteers, etc. Something that's been really in demand, and I think will be an exciting addition, is the local units map. So quite a big data source showing all of the local units of that National Society in the country. And we also have a sort of contact list to the right. Another thing that was raised in the user interviews was that people wanted to see key FDRS data over time, and income was one that came up quite a lot. So here we view income over time, separated by different income sources, and a pie chart showing sort of the distribution. Some contact information, and then finally some links to key documents, so they're sort of nice and easily accessible, and also to key links. Next, we visualize information in the top bit from the Unified Planning data collection process. So the Unified Planning separates data by strategic priority, which is how we've visualized it here. And we can see targeted number of people and funding information. We've included these bars here, so it's quite quick and easy to see sort of where the gaps are and where support could be added. On this page, we also summarise results of the PER process, so strengths here and then key development priorities. Next, we have capacity information. So this is mostly assessments and self-assessments conducted by the National Society. So, for example, OCAC and BOGA here are assessments of the strength of the National Society as an organisation and of the branches. We also have digital transformation, and some others here, including unified planning, PER, and EAPs. The next tab, the next section is about the country, sort of what's going on in the country and the country data. It's mostly external information. So here we have a sort of summary of the country, giving key figures like population, GDP, etc. And we've also visualized some of that information on a map, sort of the latest data. We've also got climate information here, and something that was suggested in a few user interviews was having a seasonal calendar, so you can quickly glance and see sort of what's going on in the country and what's likely to happen. Next, we have the summary of the partners present in the country. So this is again from Unified Planning, but you can sort of see this in a different way, so quickly see who's doing work in the country. And then some contact information. Next, we have previous events, and this came up again quite a lot of the user interviews, that people wanted to see when emergencies typically happen in that country and sort of what type. So it's almost like an anticipatory tool in a way. So we can see the frequencies of different emergencies and the different months of the year they've tended to happen in. We then summarise the information from Operational Learning Project, which will be an exciting thing to show here, I think. And then we show sort of emergencies over time. Finally, we have information from the risk module in Go to summarise on a map the seasonal risks and the imminent events that are going on. We also summarise the risks by month and include details like people exposed and people at risk of displacement. And again, sort of average risks by month for different hazard types. The final tab is a tab which gives flexibility to the National Society to be able to visualise their own data and to have some freedom in what's included in the pages. So to add like iframes of their own dashboards and other data visualizations. Thank you. I think that's about it. Please add comments if you can.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Great work, and looking forward to those comments from all the participants here. I mean, we're very keen that this is a very user-centered process, as you mentioned, and having people who would potential users from across that network and those on this call to spend a bit of time just clicking around and saying, making comments and suggestions would be much appreciated. Okay, and so yeah, we hope to have that on the platform by the end of the year. As you can hear, we're still in the kind of wireframing and iterative design process, but getting closer to a big change to the way in which we serve up country level data. So for the last couple of minutes, just back over to Daniel Tavari, Go Project Manager, to just tell us where we are in terms of the annual work plan and anything we haven't mentioned already in terms of deliverables in the coming months. Over to you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick overview, what we are working on currently and what can you expect in the coming months. So risk module and the DREF module development is ongoing throughout the year. So just to give you a quick update about the upcoming features regarding risk module. And in case of DREF, I think the next thing what is useful for you is probably the translations of the DREF submissions. Rebuilding of the Go is currently ongoing with a lot of efforts, and we hope that it will be ready by end of September, which is the 5th birthday of Go, as well as the PER, the Preparedness module, the new PER module. So we hope to release that at the end of September, beginning of October. Similarly, the geospatial development or the local unit will be also available in that time, most probably, while simplified reporting and the country page updates are still in the design and consultation phases. So we can expect that they will be available sometime later this year. So that's it. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks a lot. And we shared all of these slides and the recording and the notes in the blog as ever. And Daniel, if you wouldn't mind sharing the 2023 work plan in the chat so people have that. As mentioned, the Go blog we've mentioned a couple of times through this session. It really is a good place for you to find more detailed notes about the kinds of features that we're working on, the background to it, our approach to the different work items. We're keen to be as transparent as possible, and we are really glad for your interest in those little stories. They only take a few minutes to read, but hopefully you can get a bit more insight into what we're doing and why. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. I will leave you with some music as ever. Really appreciate your attendance at this meeting, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot from myself and from all and thanks to all of the presenters who contributed to the briefing today. And thanks to you for joining. Bye. See you next time.